asking for help is often seen as a sign of weakness in men. Pro football player Hayden Hurst knows this all too well.
Ryan will throw. It's Hayden Hurst.
The Atlanta Falcons' Hayden Hurst is one of football's top tight ends.
Second and goal. Touchdown, Hayden Hurst.
But years before he ever scored in the NFL, Hayden was a standout pitcher and was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
When I was growing up, the only thing that really mattered to me were sports.
But when his childhood dream of playing pro baseball ended,
It just created a downward spiral in my life.
Hayden's battle with depression began. It led him to alcohol and drugs.
I finally knew that something was really dark and something was really going on when we would FaceTime him, and he was in a dark room in the middle of the day by himself.
Hoping for a fresh start, Hayden joined the football team at the University of South Carolina.
I honestly thought that I was going to leave everything behind me. I get to South Carolina, and I'm still drinking, I'm still turning to drugs. I can't really explain it. It's hard to unless you go through it. But depression, when you're in that headspace and you're in that dark spot, you feel alone. You feel like nobody's there, nobody cares. And one night it just caught up to me.
I tell you, whew. Hayden is now joining us from Atlanta. Hey, Hayden.
Hey, Hayden.
How are y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me on.
So, Hayden, when did your struggle with depression start?
All throughout my life growing up, it was always sports. Everything was sports oriented. And I get drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I get thrown into their professional system at 18 years old and didn't have any success whatsoever. And that's when the anxiety part of it really started to hit me. And they kept me out of competition, kept me out of games, and I wasn't able to do what I felt like I was born to do. Growing up, I was my family's golden ticket, and I was gonna pitch in the major leagues for 25 years, however long it may be, and I was gonna help them pay off everything, and it was getting ripped away from me. And that's when, unfortunately, I turned to drinking and drugs and anything that I could get my hands on to numb that embarrassment and that pain.
Yeah, I know that one. Mm-hmm. If you could take us back, what was happening the night you tried to kill yourself?
I left baseball. I went to the University of South Carolina and just really wanted a change of scenery. I wanted to change my life, and I figured that I would leave all my problems behind me, and didn't happen at all. And I think, unfortunately, it's hereditary. I have addiction problems that kind of run deep in the Hurst family, and one night was out with some friends and was drinking and mixed Xanax with it. What I've kind of discovered was when I would reach for the bottle or reach for pills, it was to get blacked out and to be incoherent. It was pretty severe depression. And that night, I didn't want to be here anymore. I woke up and I looked down and I was handcuffed to a hospital bed. And I saw my wrist was stitched up and my jeans were covered in blood. And I just realized that, I tried to kill myself. And I just remember looking around the room and I was like, man, what have you done? And that was rock bottom for me. It's just this darkness comes over you and you can't really control it. And the only way that you feel like you can get out of it is to end your life. And for whatever reason, God kind of shined down on me and gave me a second chance at this thing. So I just feel blessed to still be here.
Let me tell you, we're blessed you're here too.
Yes.
Yeah. We are so glad that you survived that moment. For other people who are on that brink, what would be some advice?
I would say just keep fighting the fight. It does get better.
Yeah.
It absolutely gets better. And unfortunately for me, it took a breaking point for me to realize that I needed to reach out for help. And it was the absolute best thing that I've ever done in my life.
What was some of the help that you sought?
I had my night in South Carolina and was kind of set up with a psychiatrist with the university. Reluctantly at first, obviously, because I'm supposed to be this big, tough football player and reaching out for help is a weakness, right? I was hard-headed at first, and I was like, I don't want to have to do this. I just started opening up and talking, and I'm not a very emotional person. And we were just able to talk about things that I guess I wouldn't trust most people with, and it was just such a relief and just such a great moment.
What would you say to men who feel as though they don't need to care for their mental health? What would you say to the big, macho, burly men out there?
Yeah.
There is this persona that, you're an NFL player and you're almost like a robot. You just show up on Sundays and you're this big physical person. But I think it's more masculine to truly reach out for help and say, hey, I have a problem and I need assistance here.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you've had the courage to talk about this issue too, because for we as women, it brings us into more of a true reality of what is happening with men internally. Our husbands, our brothers, our uncles, instead of falling into that stereotype of thinking, oh, he's
gonna be fine.
He doesn't, nothing hurts him, that whole thing, because that's just a big old lie.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's taken me a few years to get comfortable with my story, but the more that I talk to people about it, it's really therapeutic for me because it makes me get out of my comfort zone and share my feelings. And I'll come home from, a long day at the facility with football and I go, hey, I don't feel right, like I'm having a tough day. Mental health and suicide prevention is a huge part of the Hurst family. My uncle took his own life and my cousin, his son, also took his own life. So me and my mom started a foundation that focuses on mental health in adolescents. We really want to continue the conversation and break down the stigma behind mental health.
You're helping other people while you're helping yourself.
Absolutely. What has been the reaction from your NFL teammates?
When I was with Baltimore last year, the feedback that I got from staff, coaches, personnel, general managers was just incredible. I had no idea that it affected everybody the way that it does. Unfortunately, depression and anxiety and mental health issues do leave a footprint on everybody's life in some way, shape, or form. I think the more people that come out and talk about it, it's going to break the stigma.
Yeah, absolutely. We are wishing you the best in everything.
Yes.
And happy holidays.